How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your May 2019 horoscope for Aquarius, Sun, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for being here and liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. This month, we are being faced with a lot of change. The analogy I've been making is we're kind of in the middle of a narrative, like a turning point in the narrative of 2019, starting from the eclipses that we had in January all the way till the eclipses that we're going to have in July. Now, this is going to be kind of a turning point month during that time, and even though we're going to be faced with some challenges and some problems along the way, there is also an equal amount of really good things happening this month that I think that, we're not just going to survive May, we're really going to thrive, and it's going to get us to the next side. Real nice. So starting off May, at the end of April into the beginning of May, we're having Saturn stationing retrograde in Capricorn in your 12th house. Now, Saturn is the planet of walls and barriers, limitations, framework and structure. And as Saturn's been direct for the past few months and moving forward, this is a time of when Saturn's giving you maybe more problems and obstacles and barriers in your way, as well as maybe giving you more room to take on more responsibility. Now, Saturn is going to station retrograde and be retrograde for the next couple of months, and this is happening in your 12th house. And the 12th house is a weird area in general. It's an aversion to the ascendant, so you can't really see what's going on. It's a blinding house. That's why it rules hidden enemies, things that you don't see, repressed parts of yourself, the unconscious, the subconscious. The 12th house is a lot about unaware and unacknowledged parts of yourself. Now, Saturn's been direct for the past few months, presenting maybe more problems and struggles of this area. It's kind of like you don't know where it's coming from. Or maybe you've been wanting to take on more greater responsibility with that side of yourself. Now, Saturn stationing retrograde is about basically taking on those problems that have been faced for you for the next few months and kind of taking it on, restructuring yourself and having a different framework about it. Saturn stationing retrograde is also the time of taking on more of that responsibility that you may have been knowing that is going to happen or that you've been wanting to take on for the past few months. And Saturn's going to be retrograde for the next few months, so we've got some time with this. Then the next thing that we've got going on in May is on May 4th, we're having the new moon in Taurus, and this is happening in your 4th house. Now, when you have a new moon, it's when you have both of the luminaries in the same sign. It's all about, whatever sign that is and whatever house that's in, that's what the focus is on. And a new moon's about resetting energy, resetting intentions, clearing out stuff, settling down the energy, getting the water very, not so rapid. With this new moon happening in Taurus is all about growth, abundance, value, and stability and security in those things. And this new moon is happening in your 4th house of your home, your family life, your private life, your parents, where you live. And so this is going to be a really good time to, reset your intentions with where you're living with your parents. It's a time to clean up and clear out maybe the gunk that you've got from winter. Good time to do some spring cleaning. This is just going to feel very homey and very nice and centered for yourself. Then 2 days later on May 6th, we're going to have Mercury enter Taurus as well. So Mercury, the planet of communication and messages, as well as, our mindset and how we think, this is entering the sign of Taurus where, again, this is about growth and stability and security and keeping the good things fresh. It's kind of like, in May and springtime in the sign of Taurus, it's like, all of the flowers are blooming and we want to keep it that way. So Mercury is going to be focused on those things as it travels through your 4th house of your home and your family life and your parents and where you're living and how you really center yourself. So I think this is going to be a really good month to get yourself into a very, relaxing, very stable, and a very beautiful environment that's really going to help you center yourself in moving forward. Then the next day, or actually 2 days later, on May 8th, Mercury is going to conjoin Uranus. So Uranus is in your 4th house now, which I'm sure you've seen it affect you by this time. Uranus is that planet of liberation and breakthroughs, of unexpected events. And now that it's in your 4th house, I had Uranus transit my 4th house for the past, not my 4th house, technically my IC, for the past 7 years. And I moved 9 or 10 times in that small time frame. So Uranus on top of, in your 4th house, this is unexpected events happening within your living situation. And Mercury conjoining Uranus is really speaking that message. And again, Uranus is not only about, unexpected events, but breakthrough and liberation. So while Mercury's on top of here, I think this is going to be a good time to innovate the way that you really look at what is secure, what is stable, and what is valuable in the terms of your home life and where you're living and your parents and all that 4th house stuff. But then a couple days later, we're going to have, on May 15th, we're going to have Venus enter Taurus as well. And this is super positive because Venus is the planet of love and beauty and connection. She wants you to indulge in all the nice things and take participation in all the things that brings you joy and passion. Now, Venus is entering her home sign of Taurus, which is her, like, where she rules. It's where she can do the best things. And as she goes into the sign of Taurus, into your 4th house, this is bringing more value, this is bringing more connection, more security and stability within your 4th house, within that home life. Now, the next day on May 16th, Venus is also going to conjoin Uranus in your 4th house, where, again, more of that Uranus stuff of creativity, of things changing, of things growing into something new. Venus is conjoining this where it's like you may be doing some new stuff in your living situation or with your parents, but it's nice and it's a nice change of pace and it's stabilizing and it has a lot of security to it. So I think this is going to be very positive. Also on May 16th, we're going to have Mars enter Cancer, and this is happening in your 6th house. And this is going to be interesting because Mars, of course, is the planet of action, drive, energy, where our focus is at. It also has to deal with what our frustrations are, our problems. Mars heats things up, it severs, it cuts. Mars is entering its sign of fall. Mars doesn't really work all that well in Cancer, but the 6th house is Mars' house of joy. Mars works really well right here. And so this is going to be kind of a weird situation where Mars, the planet of action and energy, in its fall of Cancer, where it's basically like Mars can't necessarily do all of the things it wants to do. Mars in Cancer can only do the things that it needs to protect and that it needs to nurture. And while it's in your 6th house, this is talking about your habits, your, day-to-day routines, your working situation, what's your service to the world? Where are you employed at? This also has to deal with your health as well. So while Mars goes into Cancer and it could be bringing up maybe some issues or irritations in this area, this is a time to really only focus on and take action on the necessities and maybe also protecting what's important to you and what you need to nurture and care for. So then as we move on into the month, on May 21st, we're going to have both the Sun and Mercury enter Gemini on May 21st, and Mercury's going to go cazimi with the Sun on that day as well. This is happening in your 5th house, and this is super positive. Like, the 5th house is all about love, romance, children, sex, creation, art, music, whatever makes you you and that you can create that's unique to who you are. The Sun going there is when the Sun is basically lighting up this area. This area is, you can see it now is the best way to put it. And Mercury, of course, the planet of our mindset and where we're thinking and how we're thinking, is going to be going into this house as well. And Mercury is going to be going into its home sign of Gemini, where Mercury can operate at the most highest and the most efficient level. And this is also really important to note because Mercury is going to go cazimi with the Sun right when they enter it, which basically means Mercury is going to conjoin the Sun and be purified by fire in essence. Meaning, while Mercury's underneath the beams of the Sun, Mercury may not get the message clear, but once it's conjunct, it's like, boom, everything's understandable. I understand where things are going, what I want. The message is very, very clear. And then, of course, this is happening in your 5th house of love, romance, children, sex, all that fun stuff. So this is definitely going to be a time of maybe you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do, or maybe you're a little bit lost. This is going to help you give a lot of clarity to what it is you're wanting to pursue a little bit more. Then as we move forward on May 30th, we're going to have Mercury oppose Jupiter. And Jupiter right now is in your 11th house of friendships, of community and networks, and it is retrograde. And during this time, this is going to be, what do you want to build up? What's the vision and the idealism that you've created within that context? And Mercury opposing Jupiter during this time is kind of like, if this is what the vision that you have, or if this is what is possible, Mercury opposing it is going like, hey, this is what you've got to do in order to make that possible. So then as we move on into the last part of the month, on May 31st, we're going to have Venus trine Saturn, and this is going to be also super positive. Saturn is in retrograde in your 12th house, which is, not going to be honest with you guys, pretty hard. It's a pretty tough time to have Saturn in your 12th house in general. But as Saturn's retrograde and you're learning to face these challenges and these obstacles and take on that responsibility, Venus in Taurus is saying yes to that and going, I want to be centered in this. I want to be centered in my stability and in my growth, and is giving that, that luxurious and that beautiful energy to Saturn to help Saturn kind of get through its cold and grim times. So I think as you make these changes going on this month, it's, there's always uncomfort and change and in growth, but this is going to be a good time where you can find a sense of stability and security in this change. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching and liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be seeing you next month.